presented by Seat77.com. As always, Dave Dabbah is coming to you live from the Super Plus Seat 77 broadcast studio in the heart of Silicon Valley. Now, Dave Dabbah.
Good afternoon, North America. I am Dave Dabbah, and thanks for joining us on this weekend edition of the Dave Dabbah Big Show, presented by the good folks at Seat 77. All right, producer Buck, have we got a huge weekend show for everybody today? We've got the W's getting crushed by the Trailblazers. Jim Harbaugh is taking his football team on an illegal spring break trip. The cops have video surveillance of Johnny Manziel's famous beatdown. The Celtics say goodbye to David Lee. And Charles Barkley turns 53. Happy birthday, Chuck. And he celebrates by eating a ton of donuts. All of that and more on the Dave Dabbah Big Show Weekend Edition. All right, producer Buck, it has been a fantastic week here at the Dave Dabbah Big Show. Kind of a short week. For those of you that didn't have a chance to tune in a little earlier in the week, I took some time off. I went skiing with the kids. It was a snow week for us, ski week, if you will, a fantastic week in the snow. And I will say this. One of the things I was looking to come out of the week with was no injuries, so no trips to the emergency room, and no damage to what my wife calls the man van, which is actually a Porsche SUV. So no damage to the Porsche SUV, which was fantastic. Okay, so on Producer Buck Big Show, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to kick things off today with what the heck happened to the Warriors last night in Portland. The Trailblazers, who are now 28-27, took down the 48-5 Golden State Warriors last night. Damian Lillard was so pissed off that he didn't make the All-Star game that he took it out on the Warriors last night. Lillard went for 51 points last night. Now, I don't know if you remember this, Producer Buck, but Lillard was also left off of the Olympic basketball team. And so he was upset about that. He called up Jerry Colangelo, who's in charge of the basketball team, and got himself an invite, at least, to training camp for the Olympic basketball team. So Damian Lillard continues to get overlooked by everybody. 51 points last night. The Warriors got just blown out. Listen to this, Producer Buck. They lost last night by 32 points, and Steph still went for 31. So it will be really, really interesting to see what happens to the Warriors tonight as they go into Los Angeles and play the Blake Griffinless Los Angeles Clippers. I don't know about you, but I think the Warriors will find a way to rebound, but it could be interesting if they don't. Okay, so elsewhere around the wonderful world of sports, the Johnny Manziel video surveillance of the incident that happened at the Hotel Zaza in Dallas has actually made its way to the police department. So the police actually have video surveillance of the actual incident. The incident in which his ex-girlfriend claims that he threw her into the car, tried to beat her down. She asked a valet to help save her life, and the valet did nothing. So there apparently is actual video surveillance of that. Hey, Producer Buck, what do you think? How long until we actually see this video surveillance pop up on, I don't know, TMZ Sports? I'm saying 2 weeks, tops. Within 2 weeks, we will see the Johnny Manziel video beatdown surveillance. Anyways, listen, I hope Johnny's getting some help because clearly he could use it. Elsewhere around the world of sports, I'm not sure if you saw this, but David Lee, the former star of the Golden State Warriors, has been let go, just simply cut by the Celtics. Now, the Celtics brought David Lee in thinking, well, we're going to bring in a veteran player who's going to play well with all of our young players. And for a while, it kind of worked. And then David Lee found his place on the bench. And he's just been riding the pine, basically, for the last I don't know, for the last 2 or 3 months. It's really sad because he's a really good basketball player. I think he just is in the wrong style of basketball. And you would think that Boston Celtic, the old school Boston Celtic basketball that is played, would be perfect for David Lee. But they're playing a completely different brand today. So David Lee flat out cut. The Celtics got nothing for him. Now, I predict that David will actually get picked up, and I bet it's a team like Dallas or Houston that picks him up. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would put my money, which I don't have, on David Lee becoming a Maverick. So look for that. I bet you that happens within the next 2 or 3 days. I know one of the issues with David Lee, and I had a friend call me up earlier today about this, and they said, well, what do you think? What do you think? Should David Lee come back to Golden State? Should he be a Warrior again? And I'm like, he just doesn't fit in with what Steve Kerr wants to do with the Warriors. And it's really sad because he's a good basketball player. He's actually a really good guy as well. So hopefully he does find his way. And for him, I hope he doesn't end up a Rocket. I really do hope he ends up a Maverick. Okay. So a couple other quick stories. All right, Producer Buck, I'll mention it. info@seat77.com. Send us your emails and we will read them on the air come Monday. So we're looking forward to that. So send those on over. We are also blowing up North America. We really are. The iTunes channel is doing extraordinarily well. We've only been on the air for a couple weeks now. We're already in I think the top 150 sports podcast shows. So tell your friends, subscribe to the channel, write a review, like us, don't like us. Just we want to hear from you, North America, on the Dave Dabbah Big Show. Okay, so a couple Jim Harbaugh stories because one's not enough. I've got to give you 2 Jim Harbaugh stories. I mean, it's the weekend. And so we're going to start with Jim Harbaugh has decided that he is going to take his football team on a spring break trip to Florida. I mean, you've got to love that he's going to take his team on a spring break trip to Florida. So Jim Harbaugh off to Florida with his football team. And you wonder, where is the National Collegiate Athletic Association, the NCAA, that is in charge of making sure that there are no violations in college sports? Where are they on this? And as it turns out, Jimmy Harbaugh found yet another loophole. And Mark Emmert, who expressed his disapproval, has nothing to stand on. There is no rule or regulation about what Jim Harbaugh is doing with his football team, taking them on a spring break trip to Florida. You know, no wonder, Producer Buck, Jim Harbaugh is getting all of these fantastic recruits. I mean, just look at it. So that's story number 1. Story number 2, which is even better, is that Jim Harbaugh has been waking up in the morning. He's been pleating those pants. That's the first thing he does. He gets those khakis pleated. He puts them on. I mean, his closet is like Imelda Marcos's shoe closet, but it's just full of like Dockers and pleated pants. Khakis. That's all he has in there. I wonder how many there are. What do you think? Like 50? I would say upwards of between 50 and 100 would be my prediction. Producer Buck, let's see if we can actually get a stat. We are, on the Dave Dabbah Big Show, actually going to reach out to the Michigan Athletic Department and find out how many pairs of pleated Docker-style khaki pants Jim Harbaugh actually owns. Give us a week, but we will actually get to the bottom of this. Anyway, so he wakes up in the morning, he grabs, khaki pair number 27, he puts them on, and then the next thing that I think he does is he just looks for ways to piss off the NCAA. And so that's what he does. And he finds loopholes, and he finds them everywhere. So Jim's been up to his loopholing methodology for the last 2 years since he went back to Michigan. And he started to actually hire players' parents to be part of his staff. And some of it's legitimate where he's actually hired, he's bringing on a recruit and he's bringing on a coach. The son's dad's a football coach at a high school or a Pop Warner team, and he's bringing him onto his staff. So he's doing all sorts of stuff like that. And some of it is actually legitimate and some of it isn't. But my favorite is the Team Mom story, where Jim Harbaugh is actually paying one of the players' moms $106,000 a year to be a team coach for the Michigan Wolverines. I don't know about you, but I mean, like, if I were going away to Michigan as a kid, I wouldn't want my parents kind of tagging along. That being said, $106,000. Are you outraged, North America? Or do you think Jim's just brilliant? And I'm leaning on brilliant. If Mark Emmert and the NCAA, who have 1,000 rules, don't have a rule about this yet, then they deserve what's coming to them. I said kudos to Jim Harbaugh and everything he's doing. I want to hear from you, North America. Tell us what you think. Info at seat77.com. And we will read them on the air. Producer Buck, I'm telling you, Producer Buck's already working on how many pairs of Dockers does Jim Harbaugh actually own. Give us a week and we will find out. Okay, so last story of the day. And everybody out there knows that I do love Charles Barkley. I love Charles Barkley's stories. And I have to say, happy birthday, Chuck. He has turned 53 years old. And so the good folks at Krispy Kreme decided to pull a little prank on Chuck yesterday. And they sent him 53, get this, Producer Buck, 53 dozen boxes of Krispy Kreme donuts to Chuck. So there's some great footage of Chuck actually eating, I would say, most of those donuts. And the boxes online. Check it out on the NBA on TNT when you have a chance. But I will say this real quick. I did have a chance to meet Chuck when I was a kid. I was 18 years old. I was working at a golf course in Southern California, you know, like as a caddy and you know, cleaning clubs and moving golf carts and doing all sorts of other things and having free beer at a very young age. So all of that, I was doing all of that. And Barkley came out with a bunch of other players from the NBA. And this is when Chuck was actually kind of skinny. And Chuck actually played golf really well. This is before Chuck put on that 24 pack that is his stomach. And so this is before that happened. So Chuck was just huge. He was not huge. He was thin, not like he is today. And he could actually swing. He could actually follow through on shots. So Chuck was actually a good golfer, believe it or not. And I had a chance to actually witness it in person. Anyways, happy birthday, Chuck. It is your 53rd birthday. And I'm glad you had a chance to celebrate as you look to go from a 24-pack to a 40-pack. All right. So Producer Buck, that is it for the big show today. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. North America, info at seat77.com. We will be back on the air come Monday. We look forward to reading your emails. Go ahead and make sure you subscribe to the big iTunes channel. It is blowing up, North America, I tell you. All right, that's Producer Buck for the Dave Dabbah Big Show. I'm Dave Dabbah, reminding you that not everyone can be a champion, but everyone can act like one can. And good luck, North America.